The human quest for the divine and the dawn of myth. Millions of years after life began on Earth, the most beautiful, most honorable, and most perfect of all beings, mankind, was created. Once humans appeared on the planet and began to think and imagine, they instinctively searched for the Creator who had brought them and the universe into existence. Indeed, human nature is inherently built to seek out its maker. In those dark ages before the light of science and recorded history, humans sought their God sometimes in the sun, sometimes in the stars, sometimes in the sea, and sometimes in fire. Believing they had found him, they constructed representative statues, built their temples, and worshipped. It is an undeniable truth that humanity has never lived without a God, from the most primitive cave dweller to the most advanced person of the atomic age. Even when one thought they denied their God, or, more accurately, rejected one form of God, they merely exchanged one object of faith for another. When they rejected what they believed yesterday, they often failed to recognize that they were simply moving from one temple to another, unable to grasp that denial itself is a form of belief. As we read mythology, which tells the lives and adventures of the gods, goddesses, and heroes believed in by the ancient Greeks, we will see the centuries of imagination and effort humankind invested in seeking and finding its creator. Indeed, the heavens, with their countless stars acting as lamps, resemble a magnificent temple encompassing all humanity. It is a vast and imposing temple that houses the mysterious shrines of India, the pagodas of Confucius and Buddha, the astonishing colossal temples of ancient Egypt, and the elegant sanctuaries of the Greek gods where Phidias carved his statues. Countless synagogues, millions of churches, and mosques all exist within the temple of the sky, still calling millions to prayer. No matter the era they lived in, their race, their language of worship, or the deity before whom they bowed, if a person was sincere, they were, in truth, worshiping the same God in one way or another. According to the ancient Greeks, the gods existed before humans were created, and the gods were in the form of humans. They too had virtues and flaws, just like mortals. In short, the lives of the Greek gods and goddesses were very much like human lives. Thus, the Greek found himself in his God, and his God in himself. The ancient Greek saw and found humanity not only in his God, but in everything. The beauty of ancient Greek mythology and the enduring quality of the literature that nourishes and adorns it stems from this perspective. The Greek believed that there was a human element in everything, in mountains, rivers, fountains, stars, trees, flowers, birds, and wolves. Examples of human-centric mythology. The partridge, Keklik. Why can't the partridge fly too high? Before becoming a bird, he was Talos, the nephew of the great Cretan artist Daedalus. Talos was thrown down from the Acropolis by his uncle out of professional envy. The goddess of wisdom caught him in midair and turned him into a partridge. Because he fears falling to pieces, the partridge even builds its nest on the ground. Poor Talos has never forgotten that terrible fall. The wolf. Why is the wolf bloodthirsty? The Greek does not see a mere animal. He sees King Lycaon, who was turned into a wolf for shedding human blood. The spider. As for the spider, she is Lady Arachne from Anatolia. Because she considered herself superior to the goddess of wisdom in weaving, she was turned into a spider. She still continues her old habit of weaving webs. It is certain that modern German author Kafka was inspired by the myth of Arachne when he wrote his beautiful novel, The Metamorphosis. The pine tree, Cham. Why do the slender leaves of the pine tree sigh when the wind blows? The pine was once Pitys, a beautiful nymph. Boreas, the north wind, was in love with her. Out of jealousy, he struck and killed her. The gods, taking pity on the beautiful nymph, transformed her into the pine tree we know. When the north wind blows, the old wounds of Pitys start to bleed, and she begins to sigh and groan in sorrow. Local Anatolian myths. Mount Sipylos, Manisa Mountain. Near the barrage area on Mount Sipylos, there is a rock. Up close it looks like a shapeless stone, but from a distance it appears as a weeping, bowed woman. This rock is the sorrowful mother Niobe, who was turned to stone by grief after her children were killed. One side of this rock remains damp and wet day and night, even on the hottest summer days. The unfortunate mother has been silently weeping on the desolate mountain of Manisa for centuries. The Simois River. There is a small river in the Çanakkale region, now called Kemer Deresi, which used to be named Simois. Do not see Simois as an insignificant stream. He is the son of Oceanus and Tethys. As an Anatolian river, he holds Bide. Defining and understanding myths. What is mythology? The term mythology, used by nations all over the world, is derived from the Greek words mythos, meaning a type of tale or story, and logos, meaning word or study. Mythology is the collection of myths, tales, or legends that describe the lives and adventures of the gods, heroes, nymphs, and giants believed in by ancient peoples. It is also the science that studies how these fictional stories originated, developed, and became beautiful, what meaning and belief they expressed, and the ideas put forth by scholars in this field. Those who study this science are called mythologists or mythologues. Thus, when we say Greek mythology, we mean all the myths and tales related to the gods and heroes believed in by the ancient Greeks. However, when we say science of mythology, we mean the academic discipline that studies the phases these ancient tales went through and the theories proposed by mythologists about them. Every nation has its own mythology, such as Turkish, Egyptian, Indian, Chinese, and Greek. Among these, Greek and Indian mythologies are the most extensively studied and enriched. Theories on the origin of myths. Scholars have proposed various theories regarding the origins of myths. Euhemerism, historical basis. The Greek philosopher Euhemeros, 4th century BC, believed that these fantastic myths contained traces of historical, real events. He suggested that the gods in mythology were actually deified kings or famous people from ancient times, whose virtues and deeds were exaggerated and worshipped. This view was later supported by Herbert Spencer, 19th century. Allegorical, moral interpretation. Later scholars like Theogenes, who found philosophy in Homer's myths, and Plotinos, who viewed them as symbols reflecting religious beliefs and traditions, analyzed myths from ethical and philosophical perspectives. Natural phenomenon, solar cult. Thinkers like Dupuy, 18th century, claimed that the deities and heroes worshipped by ancient pagans originated from the sun cult. To them, myths symbolically contained the foundations of this sun worship. Linguistic theory. Scholars like Max Muller, 19th century, argued that the basis of myths lay in language.
They believed that the mysteries of nature were explained through myths, and that language, thought, and man himself created the myths. Psychological ritualistic theory. Regnault suggested that myths stemmed from the psychological state of primitive man. Lacking experience and knowledge, primitive man was startled by sudden natural events and created imaginative stories to explain them. Others believe myths originated from religious rituals and ceremonies. The primitive mind and creation. Primitive man sought to understand why the sky thundered, why it rained, and why the wind blew. Since they could not provide rational explanations for these natural phenomena, they had to populate the universe with supernatural beings. They modeled the lives and actions of these beings on humans, who possessed qualities superior to animals, but granted them superior strength and immortality. Once these human-shaped gods were invented, various tales were created about them, and this is how mythology was born. The Greeks adopted myths from various nations they encountered, Egyptians, Assyrians, Phoenicians, and blended them with their own beliefs, refining them into beautiful tales.
The Greek theogony, the birth of the gods. The creation of the universe, cosmogony. The first thing the ancient Greeks sought to understand was the creation of the world, how the earth, sky, sea, light, water, and air were created. Lacking scientific knowledge, they personified all these elements as living beings or gods. According to Hesiod, 8th century BC, whose theogony is the oldest source of mythology, chaos, the initial confusing, formless, and boundless void and darkness. Gaia, earth, the broad-chested support of all things, who emerged from chaos. Eros, love, desire, the foundation of love, the force that draws all beings together and establishes life. From chaos, Erebos, night, was born, and their union gave birth to Aether, the pure upper light, and Hemera, day. Gaia independently gave birth to Uranus, sky, the home of the immortals, whom she made vast enough to cover and encompass her entirely. She also birthed the tall mountains and Pontos, sea. Uranus, sky, and Gaia, earth. To populate the universe, Gaia united with her own son, Uranus. Their first union brought forth the 12 Titans, 6 male, 6 female, including Oceanus, Coeus, Hyperion, Iapetus, Cronus, Rhea, Thea, and Themis. Following the Titans, Uranus and Gaia produced the Cyclopes, one-eyed smiths, Brontes, Steropes, Arges, and the gigantic Hecatocheres, the hundred-handed ones, Cautus, Briareus, Gyges. However, Uranus feared his monstrous children and, driven by a strange emotion, imprisoned them deep within Gaia, in the depths of the earth. Gaia was enraged and decided to take revenge on her husband. She forged a sharp sickle of adamant, steel, and informed her children of her plan. Only the brave Cronus, the youngest, agreed to help. When Uranus descended to meet his wife, Cronus castrated his father with the sickle and threw the bloody pieces into the sea. From the black blood that fell onto the earth sprang the vengeful Erinyes, Furies, the frightening giants, and the Melii, ash-tree nymphs. From the white foam that rose on the waves, the divine maiden Aphrodite, the goddess of love and desire, was born. The reign of Cronus. With Uranus overthrown, Cronus seized dominion over the cosmos. He first freed his Titan siblings.
During his reign, creation continued. Nyx, night, bore Moros, doom, Ceres, black fates, Thanatos, death, and Hypnos, sleep. Cronus later married his sister Rhea. The birth of Zeus. From the union of Cronus and Rhea, 3 daughters, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, and 3 sons, Hades, Poseidon, Zeus, were born. Fearing his father's curse, Cronus swallowed each child as soon as they were born, hiding them in his belly. Rhea managed to save only Zeus. She fled into the night to Mount Ida on the island of Crete, where Gaia hid the child in a deep cave. Rhea presented Cronus with a large stone wrapped in swaddling clothes, which he greedily swallowed. When Zeus came of age, he emerged from the cave. He forced Cronus to vomit the stone and his divine siblings. He then defeated his father and cast him into Tartarus, the deepest abyss. Zeus and his siblings settled on Mount Olympus, but they were immediately challenged by the Titans who had settled on Mount Othrys. This was the Great Titanomachy. The Titans piled Mount Pelion upon Mount Ossa, trying to climb to Olympus, but Zeus's divine weapon, the thunderbolt, was unmatched. The Titans were defeated, chained, and thrown into Tartarus. Later, Zeus defeated the remaining monsters and giants who refused his rule. The frequent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions in Greece were seen as the natural explanation for these monsters stirring and groaning deep within the earth. Order was finally established in the universe, and the wild, chaotic forces of nature were brought under the command of divine intelligence.
The creation of man and the ages of humanity. Prometheus and the gift of fire. The Titan Iapetus had 4 sons, Prometheus, forethought, and Epimetheus, afterthought, played a vital role in the creation of man. Prometheus, harboring resentment towards Zeus for destroying his race, decided to take revenge by creating a creature that would eventually challenge the gods, man. He sculpted the first man from clay mixed, some say, with his own tears. Man was weak, naked, and defenseless. Prometheus, taking pity, decided to teach them skills and give them fire. He secretly stole a spark from the fiery forge of Hephaestus, hid it inside a hollow stalk of the fennel plant, and brought this divine gift to humans. Humans began to cook, warm themselves, and forge tools. They became proud, forgetting their place beneath the gods. Zeus, enraged by Prometheus's defiance, had the Titan chained to a sheer cliff face on the Caucasus Mountains. Every morning, a great eagle would descend and devour his liver, which would regenerate overnight, making the torment eternal. The creation of the first woman, Pandora. To punish the arrogant race of men, who were then only male, Zeus sent a terrible curse. Woman. He ordered his son Hephaestus, the master craftsman, to create the first woman from clay, modeling her after the beautiful goddess of love, Aphrodite. All the gods contributed to her creation, giving her gifts like charm, beautiful garments, and cunning words. They named her Pandora, all gifted. Zeus gave Pandora a mysterious jar, often mistranslated as a box, and warned her never to open it. He sent her to Epimetheus, Prometheus's brother. Epimetheus, blinded by her beauty, ignored his brother's warning never to accept a gift from Zeus. Driven by curiosity, a final gift from the gods, Pandora opened the jar. All the evils, sickness, sorrow, greed, lust, flew out like birds and afflicted mankind. Pandora quickly closed the jar, but the only thing left inside was hope. Thus, Zeus took his revenge on humans by sending them the source of all misfortune. The 4 Ages of Man. The Greeks had various beliefs about human creation, but the most widespread was the division of human history into 4 ages. The Golden Age, during the peaceful reign of Cronus. Humans lived like gods, free from sorrow and hard labor. The earth provided endless bounty, and they died peacefully as if falling asleep. The Silver Age. Humans were weaker and less noble. They lived long, but were infantile and arrogant, refusing to honor the gods. Zeus destroyed them for their disobedience. The Bronze Age. Men of war. They were born from ash trees and lived solely for battle, forging their weapons and homes from bronze. They were terrible, but eventually destroyed themselves through constant fighting. The Iron Age. The age we still inhabit. This is a time of misery, crime, and toil. Humanity works hard, but its moral virtues have eroded. Zeus warned that one day he would destroy this race as well. The Great Flood, Deucalion, and Pyrrha. Zeus eventually decided to completely annihilate the corrupted race of man with a great flood. Prometheus once again warned his son Deucalion. Deucalion built a covered ark and boarded it with his wife Pyrrha. After 9 days and 9 nights of storm, they landed on Mount Parnassus. The rest of humanity had drowned. Zeus took pity on the pious couple. Upon consulting the goddess Themis, they were told to cast the bones of their mother over their shoulders. Understanding mother to mean Gaia, earth, they cast stones behind them. The stones thrown by Deucalion turned into men, and those thrown by Pyrrha turned into women. Because they were created from stone, this new race was hardened and able to endure the hardships of the Iron Age.
The Olympian Pantheon.
Zeus was the mighty ruler of Mount Olympus, the master of the world, and the father of gods and men. Everything from the smallest blade of grass to the greatest of beings was subject to his command. He controlled the heavens, bringing sweet blue skies, or gathering clouds to unleash storms, rain, or snow. When he desired to show his absolute power, he would unleash his thunderbolts, the symbol of his power and divine justice. The gods were very much like humans, only with greater power. They had passions, desires, and flaws. Zeus, despite being the chief god, was often lustful and unfaithful to his wife. Conversely, some gods like Artemis and Athena remained pure virgins, untouched by desire. The birth of Athena. The birth of Athena is unique. Zeus, having swallowed Metis, wisdom, became pregnant with the goddess of wisdom in his head. When the time came, the god of the forge, Hephaestus, split Zeus's head with an axe. Athena sprang forth, fully grown, armored, and shouting a cry of victory. Life on Olympus. The gods lived in dazzling palaces on the highest peak of Olympus. They ate the divine food ambrosia and drank nectar, which gave them eternal youth. They were entertained by the Muses, inspiration, and the Graces, Charites, who sang and danced. The Horae, hours, opened and closed the golden gates of Olympus. The goddess of eternal justice, Themis, sat by Zeus's throne, offering counsel. The Moirai, fates, spun and cut the thread of every mortal life. Even Zeus could not undo their decisions. The gods did not simply watch. They loved, hated, and were often consumed by jealousy and spite. Their joy and sorrow were magnified because their nature was superior to that of man. Their vengeance was terrible and often resulted in horrendous crimes. The 12 Olympians. 12 main gods resided on Mount Olympus, 6 male, 6 female, each with superior authority. Hades was Zeus's brother, but ruled the underworld, remaining below. Dionysus was later added. Great heroes, demigods and their trials. This section is a translation of the detailed hero introductions from the source text, demonstrating the human suffering of the divine offspring. Heracles, Hercule. Zeus desired to create an unparalleled hero to rid the world of suffering. He descended to Thebes and, disguised as the queen Alcmene's husband, lay with her. From this deception, Heracles was conceived. Hera, Zeus's vengeful wife, constantly sought to punish Heracles. As a baby, he strangled 2 serpents sent by Hera. As an adult, Hera struck him with divine madness, causing him to tragically kill his wife and children. To atone, Heracles was ordered to serve the petty king Eurystheus and complete 12 labors, Getty Images, including strangling the Nemean lion, killing the Lernaean hydra, and descending into Hades to capture the 3-headed dog, Cerberus. Through these trials, Heracles became a symbol of mortal endurance. He was eventually poisoned by a tunic stained with the blood of a centaur, but Zeus brought him to Olympus, where he gained immortality. Theseus. Theseus was a prince of Athens, often considered the son of King Aegeus and the god Poseidon. Choosing the perilous land route to Athens to earn his kingship, he overcame 6 robbers and monsters along the way. His most famous deed was sailing to Crete as one of the sacrificial youths. He entered the labyrinth and, with the help of Ariadne's thread, killed the Minotaur. He established Athens as a unified city-state, becoming a hero of governance as much as combat. The doomed house of Thebes, Cadmus and Oedipus. The city of Thebes was founded by Cadmus, but its royal line was steeped in doom. Laius, a later king, was cursed. His son would kill him and marry his own mother. When his son Oedipus was born, Laius had his ankles pierced and abandoned him. Oedipus was saved and raised in Corinth. As a young man, he received the same prophecy and fled Corinth to avoid harming his supposed parents. On the road, he quarreled with and killed an old man, who was unknowingly his father, Laius. He later solved the riddle of the Sphinx and, as a reward, was given the widowed queen Jocasta, his mother, to marry. When the truth was revealed, Jocasta hanged herself, and Oedipus blinded himself and went into exile. This is a tale of fate, where a man's effort to flee prophecy only leads him directly into its arms. Jason and the Argonauts. Jason, a prince exiled by his usurping uncle Peleus, was sent on an impossible quest to retrieve the golden fleece from the distant land of Colchis. He gathered 50 of the greatest heroes of the time, including Heracles and Orpheus, to sail on the ship Argo. This was a quest of betrayal and eventual exile. The enduring mythology. These myths, full of subtle beauty and profound symbolic meanings,
are masterpieces of human intellect. They continue to inspire Western literature and art and offer a framework for understanding human nature, morality, and our place in the cosmos.